Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builders Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the Dorbin number 53A mill finish aluminum interlocking threshold. That's what this is. This is a two-piece threshold system called an interlock. This is a tiny little petite style of interlock that you do see occasionally in certain types of applications. But before we get to that, here's the second piece. And this is called a hook strip, or a J-hook. If you use your imagination, you can see why we call it that. And the interlock principle is exactly what you see here. Now imagine that this J-hook, and this part number is 32Z as in zinc, by the way, is nailed to the bottom of the door. And when that door closes, it's going to make that sort of connection with the 53A floor portion, allowing you to have an incredibly positive mechanical seal at the bottom of the door. And while metal on metal is certainly not going to be the most efficient way to retard the transmission of energy, you're sure going to stop that draft from coming in when you have that sort of mechanical connection. Not only draft. In Chicago, where I'm from, draft is a major concern. Not so much in Phoenix, Arizona, where the concern, believe it or not, well, if you're from Phoenix, I don't have to tell you, or Arizona, scorpions, critters, you're going to be able to stop them in their tracks. They're not going to get through your vinyl door sweep when you've got this metal interlock. That's right there. Okay. Now, where are you going to use this? Well, I've seen this installed in residential applications, in side doors of houses, basement doors, doors leading to sunrooms. You're going to use it where you expect to need a threshold. And by the way, this is 1 3/8 by 5/16. There was an image down below this video that shows that. Use it in an area where you need to have a threshold, and you want the ability to seal mechanically. You desire that, but you also might be restricted by the fact that you can't add a surface-mounted door sweep. Imagine a small commercial space, a couple thousand square feet, shop in the back, 300 square foot of office in the front, and what you're really looking to do is to not only retard the transmission of sound, which an interlock threshold will obviously do, but also particulate. You don't want the grinding or the sawdust particulate coming in underneath the door. You have very little room from the bottom of the door to the floor, and adding a sweep, as mentioned earlier, is not very elegant because you're dragging that across everything. So it's an interlock like this might be a very good way to go. Now the 32Z, the hook strip, about 7/8 overall width, maybe 15/16. Then you're going to be at about a 1/4 inch or so overall height. The question ultimately becomes, what's your undercut? Well, if I was going to study that undercut, first of all, I find a caliper to be a great tool to use when doing this because you can get very precise. But from the floor to the center line of my lip is about 1/4 inch. Okay, so you've got 1/4 inch to the center line. Then when you look at that hook strip, you're going to be able to gauge from the top of the door. And by the way, you'll see that little giddy up that's there. That little hip is meant for the head of the nails to sit flush, so as not to interfere with the proper operation, is why that's there. But the bottom of the door to the center line of that bird's mouth, so to speak, is about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little bit heavy. So I might be about 3/8 of an inch. Okay, I might add a 32nd to that, and then test my installation. And speaking of those nails, here they are, and obviously the screws are included in a complimentary finish. So once you've arrived at your proper undercut, go ahead and make your undercut to the door and then proceed with your installation. Available in lots of different lengths. If you have need for a custom length, by all means let us know by ordering the next longest piece or pieces, and just indicate in the comment field the net length that you'd like for us to cut the material back to. Why? Well, you may not want to cut anything. You might be a homeowner and you can get the screws down, but you don't want to deal with cutting anything. Order the next longest piece or pieces. Indicate in the comment field what net length you want us to ship the material out at. That'll save you of not only cutting the threshold portion, but also cutting the hook strip as well. You may not want to have to contend with cutting this, because the factory actually cuts this on a small circular cutting tool. Like a miter saw. A miter saw where there's a small blade installed and they have a fence behind the tool that does not move. Think of it as a radial arm saw, except there's no radial portion to that. They slide that material and they just push it forward and they get a cut right through it. So you may not want to have to deal with this. Cutting this with aviation snips is probably going to kink that up pretty bad. So just keep in mind that little tear out that you see at the end, you just put that flat and just tap it with your mallet or your hammer and you'll bring that completely straight. Otherwise, no problem. Just cut it in the field. But whichever way you like it, we'll oblige. Order the next longest piece or pieces. Indicate that net length in the comment field of what we're supposed to cut it back to, and that's how we'll supply it. Okay. Finally, there is a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Dorbin products that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. If you have any questions on the Dorbin, this is their part number 53A, interlocking mill finish aluminum threshold. And by the way, you can order this in a satin mill. It's just raw extruded aluminum. You can order it in polished aluminum, satin aluminum, pewter aluminum. It makes a very nice look, especially the polished. Well, they all look nice, but the polished looks really nice, and as does the satin. Finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page, where you can pull up not only all of the Dorbin products that we sell, but also a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. Now, I'm quite partial to Dorbin, and it's because of familiarity. It was the first weather stripping company that I became familiar with in terms of part numbers and learning about weather stripping in general. But not only that, but because my family is distributed for Dorbin for decades, several in fact, and as a result, I'm partial to that sort of relationship. Because they're predictable, they're reliable, they're dependable. And that goes a long way. Any questions on the Dorbin 53A interlocking threshold or any other Dorbin product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you.